What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Trade for Yourself podcast. Okay, we are back at it again. We are back at it again for the Trade for Yourself podcast, and I still appreciate you all for tapping in as you always do. And then this is a very, very big deal, and I really, truly appreciate you all for tapping into another episode of the Trade for Yourself podcast. This is a big deal, y'all, because we had a fresh record high for the S&P 500. The S&P 500 made another 52-week high, actually an all-time high, right? The S&P 500 made an all-time high today. And that is what's so amazing because this market is continuing to be resilient. This market is continuing to provide so much wealth and provide value for the people that are tapped into what is going on in the stock market. So it's amazing for us to see that the S&P 500 is still doing this thing and it's still handling business. Okay. So as always, I appreciate y'all for tapping into another episode. Let's go ahead and get into the information. I don't have a whole lot of information for you guys at the end of the day, but I do have some good information that I do want you all to tap into, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with y'all here for a second. Go ahead and share my screen and show you all some pretty good information. So again, let's talk about again what has been happening in the stock market because this is very, very important. So the stock futures are little changed after the S&P 500 closes above 5,300 for the first time, right? The S&P 500 closed above 5,300 for the first time, okay? And right now, the stock futures that they were near flat Wednesday evening after a lighter than expected inflation reading propelled the major averages to record highs. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 32 points. The S&P 500 futures ticked higher by 0.06%. The Nasdaq futures advanced 0.1%. So the futures really aren't moving that much, but let's talk about what happened during trading. Okay, what happened during intraday trading is what is most important. So in regular trading, all three major averages closed at records. The Dow climbed 0.88%, while the broad market S&P 500 gained 1.17%, sending the session above 5,300 for the first time. The tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite closed higher by 1.4%, and that performance was helped by the April reading of the Consumer Price Index, a broad measure of how much goods and services cost at the cash register, which increased 0.3% from the prior month, and that was slightly below the Dow Jones estimate of 0.4%. Consumer prices still grew at 3.4% from a year ago, right? And so the market is recognizing that the inflation dynamics look favorable, right? Chief Investment Officer at BMO Wealth Management told CNBC. Combine that with some of the takeaways from the earnings season, which which were pretty healthy earnings and favorable outlooks overall, the market was just coiled to look to interpret news as good news. That is the hallmark of a bull market, to take something that could be two-sided and call it good. On Thursday, investors have a batch of economic data to look forward to, including the widely watched weekly jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. Eastern and the Philadelphia Federal Reserve Manufacturing Index. Investors are also looking forward to Walmart earnings due before the bell, along with Under Armour and Baidu. As well, we're going to have Applied Materials. Applied Materials is also going to be reporting earnings at the close of Thursday as well. So when we look at this particular situation, okay, y'all, you know, the S&P 500 hit an all-time high, okay? The S&P 500 hit an all-time high, and this is a very, very big deal, getting above 5,300. The reason why that was a big deal because of where we were just a month ago. Okay, where were we just a month ago? So I want to pull up the fear and greed index for us. And the fear and greed index is very, very important in terms of letting us know the emotion around the market, buyers and sellers, right? What is happening? Just a month ago, we were in fear. We were at 38, and we had got as low as 31 on the fear and greed index just 1 month ago. So we were almost in extreme fear. And in 1 month, we are now in greed. We are now in the greedy category. Now, what happened over the last month that got us into this greedy category? What happened was that the story around the market was changing. I'm going to keep telling everybody. It all started back at the last Fed meeting with Jerome Powell. When Jerome Powell, he pretty much he took a rate hike off of the table. He said, "Hey, the Federal Reserve, we are not raising interest rates. That is not happening. Rates may be higher for longer, but we are not raising interest rates." Another thing that he said, he talked about there is not stagflation, right? We are not dealing with slowing growth in the economy and sky high inflation. We're not dealing with that. So the thing is that he pretty much poo-pooed two things that had been moving the market in terms of, okay, what is the market trading on? And so now that we've got past the Fed meeting, we've got past the majority of the S&P 500 earnings, we've got past this CPI data in terms of measuring inflation. Now the market, in my opinion, is ready to go and ready to continue to make these new record highs. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go to the chart now. Let's go to the chart. It's time to go ahead and pull up the chart and let's look at SPY, which follows the S&P 500, and let's see what SPY has been doing. So I've got a daily chart of the S&P 500, and this is pretty much over the course of 1 year. Over the course of 1 year, this is what the S&P 500 has been doing. Now, the S&P 500 is up 12.2% year to date. The S&P 500 is doing amazing, amazing, amazing year to date. The historical average return for the S&P 500 hovers around 10%. So we're doing above what the historical return is, and we haven't even made it to June yet. That is a huge, huge deal. We have made several record highs along the way, but we had this 5% pullback. We had a 5% pullback a month ago, but now we have pretty much eclipsed that level. We had some resistance right here. So yesterday we came right to 523.83. We did not get above that high level, but we gapped up and we closed right at 529.78. Okay, that is where we closed today. So let's look a little bit closer to see, okay, how has the market been moving, let's say over the last couple of weeks? The market's been continuing to rise, gapping up, continuing to rise, gapped up, and the market has just been continuing to rise. So, you know, like I was talking about before, us making that record high and us getting past all of that data that we needed to get past, I think that we're going to enjoy a pretty good rally over the summer. Okay, I think we're going to have a pretty good rally over the summer with what I expect some weakness getting into maybe late August, September, October due to seasonal weakness and due to the election coming up. And so I think that we have an opportunity for the market to continue to ride higher. So what we have to do is, if we want to trade SPY itself, we need to wait on a pullback to get into SPY, right? Let SPY come down, pull back a little bit, enter and ride it higher. Look at different stocks, look at different securities out there that you may have been eyeing, and let's find opportunities to get into them. And there's one stock that I want us to talk about that hasn't been running like the rest of the market, but I believe has the opportunity to run, and that is Amazon. Okay. Ticker symbol AMZN. I believe that Amazon has the potential to have a breakout. Okay. If we look at Amazon, Amazon has been doing well this year. It has been doing well this year, but over the last few days, Amazon has not been trading very well. It's actually been underperforming the market over the last week. But I believe that is going to provide an opportunity to get into Amazon. Okay. Amazon had great earnings when it reported. So there's really nothing that's really holding this stock back at the end of the day, right? The stock has pulled back, but it's pulled back to areas of support, right? There's some areas of support that this stock has pulled back to. And I believe that this is a good area to buy and a good area to go long. I definitely believe Amazon is gonna eclipse this 191.7 that Amazon hit earlier. I believe Amazon hit that level last week. I believe it was last Thursday Amazon hit this level, but I see Amazon breaking past this level and going to 200. So I am looking for Amazon to go to 200. This is an opportunity to be able to buy a stock that has pulled back, right? It's pulled back while the market's breaking out, but I believe the market is going to continue to break out, and this is going to provide an opportunity for you to get in. And while the market is riding, while the market is riding, remember, a rising tide will lift all boats. So Amazon is going to be able to benefit from the S&P 500 continuing to ride. We need to look at Amazon, look at what it's doing over the last, look at what it's continuing to do, and find you an opportunity to get into Amazon, right? If I look at what Amazon is doing on the 1 hour, if we look at where Amazon is on the 1 hour, Amazon came down and, came down right here, came down to around 183.45, came down again the next day down to 182.73, came down again to 182.95. So Amazon's continuing to hit this 182, 183 level, but it's bouncing. It's bouncing. And we see some green candles that we are seeing happening on the 1 hour chart. So I believe that a bottoming process for this stock is happening. And I believe that we should get ready to get into Amazon, add to a position if you already have one. If you don't have a position in Amazon, look to go long on Amazon, because again, this is a stock that has been running. It's pulled back. It's pulled back right in time for the S&P 500 to have that new record high. The S&P 500 is probably going to have several more record highs throughout the remainder of this year. Amazon is going to be a beneficiary of that. So make sure Amazon's on your watch list. Look for Amazon positions, right? Look for Amazon positions, because this is going to be one of those ones that you're going to want to look at and that you're going to want to get into. Me personally, I am in a $180 call in Amazon out to September. And so I'm buying a contract that's in the money, buying a contract in the money, because I'm trying to have that appreciation as it gets to that $200 level that I am looking at to take profit on the stock. So again, appreciate you all for tapping into another episode of the Trade for Yourself podcast. Please like this, please subscribe. Let me know what you think about the S&P 500 making a new record high. This is a big deal in the stock market, and I believe that we have a lot more run room left, because we're only in greed. We're not even that far. We're not even that far on the extreme greed level. We just crossed over in the greed. So the S&P 500, I believe, is going to continue to move higher. This is an opportunity for us to take advantage of it, find opportunities in the stock market, and let's go build wealth. Remember, don't pay for it, trade for it. I'm tapping with y'all next week.